every time we have a conversation, it's like I'm in a episode of Westworld because you're so out of touch with reality. And for a guy who you pick and choose when you want to wing it, right? And you're famous for wanting to trade the whole team for a guy to then saying, I never wanted him anyway. To ending up with the guy to saying, may have.
Can I tell you something right now? You know, I was thinking the other day, I love Jimmy Butler. But do I love Jimmy Butler? I just need this out there. I need this out there. I was listening to this guy. And first of all, what an influence this guy has been on the team. All right. Everything everybody said about him, they're all losers. They are all losers. Because this guy's been nothing but fantastic for the Miami Heat. Everybody gravitates toward him. The guy's a fantastic leader. Every other team that he was on, Minnesota, soft. Sixers, soft. Chicago Bulls, soft. And this team, Leroy, it's like a moth to light. They all gravitate towards him. It's fantastic. And I'll tell you another thing. Fantastic with the media. He's so fun because you want to know something. If you ask a stupid question, he treats you stupid. You ask a good question, he treats you right. It's fair. What's fair is fair. And he's just sharp, funny. You know, he likes to play the game too. The TJ Warren stuff comes on. He goes, he's wearing the mask. He goes, you all can't see me smiling. Oh, what a gem. Leroy, a gem.
Ooh.
A gem.
Here's what I'll say about that. Jimmy's always been Jimmy. Okay? But the Heat have taken these young guys and pretty much told them how they do things here. And it fits the way Jimmy has been in all of his other places. And so when you have a veteran guy who can play with his ability that buys in to the things that you are trying to teach your young players, then it's easier for your young players to buy in.
Yes.
And so from that standpoint, that's why that is like that. Now, for example, when you think of the team that went 31-11 and you think of the guys on that team, what guy would be the voice of, Heat culture? They didn't really have a guy. They kind of had a guy, but they didn't really have a guy. So the knuckleheads came out, right? Yep. They didn't feel like they had to buy in.
Thus
you had the issues.
As Riley said, you need to tighten the screws on Heat culture. There was some slippage.
Yeah, but again, if you don't have the personnel to do that, it doesn't matter. If the guys on your team aren't buying in, or you don't have that one respected voice,
I think it was what it is, and I think there's a difference to this. Is these guys appeared? I'm not saying it's true, but it appeared once they got paid, didn't act or act the same way that they did with what got them the big contracts. Now, is it a case of we're looking at them with a different scope because you're locked on them long term and they're not the underdog team on minimum contracts? Possibly. Correct. Possibly a little bit of both. Possibly a little bit of both. I think the difference with Jimmy is Jimmy's got all the money in the world and he still goes about his game like he's the guy on the end of the roster. He still goes at his game like he is Derrick Jones Jr. or Duncan Robinson or how any of these guys who haven't made it yet. He still goes about that and is getting noise complaints because he's dribbling a basketball in his hotel room like a psycho.
I mean, yeah, that's who he is. That's who he is. That's who, look, those years of the past were a bunch of guys who came in that the Heat tried to mold into Heat culture. Okay? Then you have guys that you brought in recently that were Heat culture that you didn't have to mold. And it's easier to go about it that. It's easier to do that. I mean, there's nothing about Jimmy Butler that when you've seen him at any step of his career, you didn't say, oh, Heat culture guy.
Yeah,
he does things. Right. He does things exactly how the Heat want them done. And so it should be no problem. Now, the younger guys, right? The younger guys where they, are learning how to be pros, learning how to prepare, learning how to be professionals at their craft. You have a very small window to mold them into what you would want them to be. And having somebody like Jimmy Butler, makes that easier.
Agreed. And I think that with Bam, I think it's had the biggest influence because he not only has challenged him all year to be comfortable with being better or take those big star player roles. He's challenged him to do more, like whether it was the 3-point challenge or taking shots or to be more aggressive or all that stuff. Can the coaches do that? Certainly. Would Bam have been, scratching the surface on all this stuff with just more opportunity? Yeah, maybe. But I think it helps to have a guy who's been there and done that, kind of to tell him to act like a star. I think this happened with D-Wade and Shaq. Shaq kind of told D-Wade, like, no, you're Flash. You're a star. Like, you got to start. You carry yourself. Things are just different for you. And that doesn't just come down to with how you act off the court. I think that comes down to how you act on the court and what's demanded of you each and every day. And I think we see that from Bam. Bam has been the guy who's kind of sucked it up a little bit more. He's 22 years old. He's been banged up at certain points this year. You think, oh, there's a groin injury. This dude's not playing. He goes out there and plays. Like, he plays through everything. And I think that some of that also probably had to do with, we had a guy like Justice Winslow who was here. And Justice is fantastic, and I know that a lot of people wanted to see what he could unfold, and maybe he could have been great with the Heat. I don't know. But I do think that, with Justice, we talked with Ira about this a bunch. There was some questions of, is he healthy enough to play, but he just doesn't want to gut it out. He just doesn't deal with comfort the same way. And I think with him, he felt like, oh, I should be treated like the face of the franchise. I remember him after his 27-point game on opening night. He's like, I earned this, which, listen, I understand feeling froggy about all that type of stuff. But I feel like with Justice, it was all a lot of, and maybe it could happen. Maybe we're seeing flashes. And I feel like with Bam, all that stuff is just kind of the first opportunity of starting and getting big minutes. It's all, boom, it's been there pretty much immediately.
Well, I don't know if you could have Justice Winslow on the court without scoring. Right? They tried to push that and say, he does a lot of different things, but he plays a position that requires some points. Whereas Bam could come into the league and earn his spot in a different way that didn't necessarily include scoring. And he still made an impact because of his size, his ability to defend a lot of guys. Justice Winslow couldn't do that. So he needed the points to be effective. And it was one of those things where they pushed Jay Rich and then they pushed Justice Winslow.
Yep.
Right? And it was just maybe not the best of choices. That could also be it.
Well, look, I think that was a fantastic draft class for him. Like, I think that those guys both were rotation players. They both contributed a lot. I just don't think either one was an all-star.
Well, I don't. Do we even know? Can we throw Justice Winslow in the category of Ryan Tannehill? Do we know what he is yet?
It's tough just because of injuries. He just doesn't play.
Okay, for whatever reason.
Yeah,
whatever reason. He is now playing for a different team, and you don't know what type of basketball player he's going to be. And this is his what? Fourth or fifth year?
Same state, too.
Right? Fourth or fifth year?
Yes.
Right. You still have no idea what kind of basketball player he's going to be. That's a problem.
I think we finally gotten to, listen, he loves having the ball in his hands. He loves being a point guard, and he's a monster on defense. I think that he could be real trouble, but I do think that all the questions surrounding his health are legitimate ones, and especially what his tolerance level is to go play under those under what may be wrong with him physically. But I just there are certain things, to your point. Like, I do think that with him, there was still a lot of questions of he could be this, he could be that. A lot of people who were in Justice's corner, I think a lot of it was built on flashes and short bursts, and I don't feel like he's ever had the full season that we've seen from Adebayo. Let's get to some Heat sound from yesterday. So yesterday, Coach Spo, he was asked about the Jimmy Butler noise complaint, and this is what Coach Spo had to say about Jimmy Butler having the hotel called on him because he was making too much noise with dribbling.
Before people start writing about that, we were not giving players programs, to do those kind of things during the quarantine. But that's why I love Jimmy. Not why the one example. I mean, there's many things that he brings to the table, but he has an unparalleled work ethic, and he is a driven basketball player that really wants to help a team compete for a title, and he's willing to do anything. One of his greatest qualities is his level of discipline. That is really unique, how he can discipline himself with his work, what time he works out, his nutrition, his consistency every single day, his consistency of doing that during the off season and never getting out of shape. He's constantly working to get to another level. That is an act of discipline, and he is exceptional in that area. I mentioned it before we got here. When you go and enter into a circumstance like this, in a playoff scenario where there are some uncertainties, you want to have guys like Jimmy Butler leading your organization because he's about the right things. And his work ethic is something, and his discipline is something that everybody, follows him, in that regard.
Anyway, so you guys heard what Spo said about Jimmy Butler. He was joking about we didn't give him that program, but they love him so much. Spo loves him. Heat culture all the way. Cuts him open. What bleeds out? Heat culture. That's Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler in a nutshell.
That's when you get hit. You know what that's called? Jimmy Butler on the Heat is getting hit with a bullet and it doesn't hurt.
I've already given my praise for Jimmy Butler. I'm not going to let you sour this because I may have made a comment about may have dodging a bullet when there was clearly propaganda coming out of Philadelphia that I was unaware of. Which they're doing again, by the way, with this whole Ben Simmons. Oh, Ben Simmons is playing power forward. Hey, Ben Simmons, welcome to Bam Adebayo's world. Oh, you're a big man who can handle and dish? Hey, thanks for catching up. You were like in rhetorical math for 2 years. Hey, congratulations. What should we do? Give you a cookie? Annoys me, Leroy.
You're annoyed by a lot of things.
Yeah, you know what I am? I am annoyed by a lot of things because these dopes in the media, they go out there and they're like, Ben Simmons is playing power forward. He's going to be like a point forward. All right, hey, cool story, bro. That's exactly what Bam's been doing. Congratulations. I'm supposed to be sitting here and applauding him like a seal. Oh, my gosh. Ben Simmons is doing this. Ben Simmons is doing that. You ever think that we spent too much time on Ben Simmons, not enough time on Bam Adebayo? Has that crossed anybody's mind?
I don't think nobody's spending too little time on Bam.
I think
the whole league is praising Bam.
Nah, not enough. Not
Everybody.
Like Ben, not
Get
enough.
out of
not
here.
like Ben Simmons. Not like Ben Simmons.
Right.
Left and right with this Ben Simmons. Rats off a ship.
I mean, to be honest with you, Ben Simmons is a less talented Lamar Odom. Right? I mean, Lamar Odom was everything that Ben Simmons was, except he was an actual shooter.
Lamar Odom also, they didn't try and say, "Oh, Lamar's the point guard." They didn't try and do that. Like Ben,
Right.
they're so crazy about this whole idea of, "Oh, he's the point guard. Now we're gonna put him down and make him the point forward, put him out in transition to go get rebound." Oh, hey, good for you. Hey,
You know the way I look at that?
way to catch up.
You know the way I look at that? Hey, Ben, if you're not going to shoot, we're just going to move you into the paint.
Hey Ben, we saw you abuse that fish with your horrible jump shot. Struck an idea with our coach Brett Brown, who didn't even know Jimmy Butler's name. We decided we're going to move you off point guard again, like we did in the playoffs last year, because we can't have you handling the ball late on this team. So we're going to do that yet again. We're going to give it to Shake Milton. You cool with that, big guy? All right, cool story. I'm sure it'll go great. For the Sixers.
What is wrong with you?
People obsess about the Sixers, and it's enough already.
It doesn't. Here's the great thing about sports. You can obsess about whoever you want. But guess what? You got to play the game. You got to play the games. And you got to win. And if you don't, the second you're out, the second you're taking your flight home to where you came from, out of the NBA bubble, nobody will give a rat's ass about you.
Let's hear Erik Spoelstra talk about a true passing big man, a guy who's not afraid of his abilities to pass and be big and block shots and put the clamps on him. That's Bam Adebayo, who somebody asked him yesterday about his screen setting ability, Leroy, and if he had that ability, if he put that into him. And Spo basically just said, "Listen, this guy Bam Adebayo, no limits on him, no obstacles."
Well, he has a willingness and an attention to detail. He had a lot of those skills, maybe not the dribble handoff when he came in, but that's something we developed right when he started working with us. But it's the all facets of his game and the improvement in all those other areas that have really made him special. His work ethic, determination, his persistence every day is allowing Bam to become a much better basketball player and a player that doesn't have a ceiling in my mind.
Woo! Yo, can I just tell you right now, Leroy, you know what that is?
What's that?
That's that erotic audio that Erik Spoelstra's speaking to me. That's that ASMR. He could just say that. If he could say that, but also like undo some Velcro, and that gets my rocks off right there.
I was thinking of a couple of other letters that I would like to use to express what you're doing to me right now.
What do you mean?
ASS.
We'll take a break back after this.